if you like betting on golf, but everyone that you back misses the cut. Get some experts involved with all the stats and the tips and so much more, 'cause it's the golf betting system, the golf betting system, it's the golf betting system podcast.
Greetings and welcome to the Golf Betting System podcast. It's episode 373. This is our 2025 Baycurrent Classic and Open d'Espana tips podcast. Barry O'Hanrahan and Paul Williams join me, Steve Bamford, to discuss this week's DP and PGA Tour action. Good morning, gents.
Good morning, guys.
Morning, guys.
This podcast is for listeners of 18 and above. Please be gamble aware. You can visit gambleaware.org for more information. And of course, please bet responsibly. Visit our world-famous Golf Betting System website, where we have in-depth betting previews for both the Baycurrent and the Open d'Espana. Paul has been in the stats lab pulling together this week's data. We have Club de Campo Villa de Madrid strokes gained rankings. Did you like that? Detailed form, event and combi sheets, plus new and old models for both, predictor models for both events this week. All of our content is available completely free of charge. There is no paywall or registration required. On X, you can get hold of Barry. He's at A Good Talk Golf. Paul is at Golf Betting. I am at Bamford Golf. Bluesky, search for Steve Bamford and Paul Williams. Subscribe to the Steve Bamford Golf YouTube channel, where this podcast is available each and every week. Can I ask for comments, please, on the video, if you wouldn't mind this week? Even if you just write, yes, put comment in the actual comment section. It's all good for the algorithm. So please like the show and comment. Now, you guys as listeners power this podcast, so we need your 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. As ever, for those of you who leave a review, I read them out at the start of a future show. Leave your name and where you are in the review. We've got one hit from Mark Lewis. 5 stars. His comment is, cracking tip on Euros today to win day 1 foursomes, Paul. You made a great case. I doubled it up with Scotty to win the Masters to juice up the seemingly miserly but ludicrously still value 7-2. Mark, thanks for your comment.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks, Mark. Well, that makes the Scotty price a little bit more palatable for the Masters. It's what that is, 8-1 maybe, something like that.
That'll make you feel happy going in there with a long-term ticket. It's good.
Yeah.
What is he now? I take it he's going to be sort of the same price.
Yeah, I expect he'll hover around that kind of price all the way up until the event. Unless there's some other injury over the festive period.
What happens if he wins 3 on the trot? He could be going off at 2-1.
He's 4-1 for the Masters.
Yeah. Not sure I'm backing any of that this far out, but yeah, if you can get yourself a longer price by doubling it up with something in the meantime, then it's, as Barry said, it gives you a bit of long-term interest in that market. Very good.
4-1 Scotty, 8-1 Rory. Clearly he won't win. Curse of the Green Jacket. Bryson DeChambeau, 16-1.
Was Rory's curse, though, not winning it? So now it's kind of
don't
inverse.
The curse of the Green Jacket. If he breaks that one, we might as well give up with all of these curses and trends and just literally just do none of. Don't do any research podcast. Just don't do anything. That's a very strong curse, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not even going to mention Tiger Woods, but yeah. If you're listening to this on Spotify, on your audibles, can you please press the 5-star button? I believe, when I stumbled upon it yesterday, we were on 798 5 stars. So it would seem churlish not to break the 800 barrier this week. And also, we are completely, and I mean the well is dry. There are no Apple comments to read, no 5 stars. So if you could spend the time, surprise us. If you're listening in Malaysia, just send us a 5-star review. You will get read out, most likely, on next week's pod. We haven't had any from America for a while, so give us a 5-star review. That'd be fantastic. Robert McIntyre wins in the gnarly conditions of the Alfred Dunhill. And Paul and I came very close to a winner in Mississippi, with Gary Higgo leading after 18:36.54 and was joint leader after 70 holes, but didn't bring home the bacon at 45-1. I tell you, it's very rare, chaps. I keep latest score information, so top 10 scorers on the day, and Higgo was in the top 10 every single day. Didn't win. I don't recall ever seeing that before.
Yeah. It just needed one of those rounds to just be that little bit deeper. I don't know. Sometimes someone will just step up to the plate and win the tournament. And Fisk was that player to shoot 8 under on the Sunday from the position that he was in. If starting behind Higgo and closing the way he did with 40-odd footer on 16 and knocking the next two pretty much stiff. It's just impressive. As you said off mic, Steve, Higgo didn't do a great deal wrong. He's such an aggressive player, Higgo. He has a good run at a lot of putts, and there are bogeys that he makes out there, which you might think are unnecessary, but then he makes so much by being that kind of player that I don't think you really want to take that away. And that's why you can and does win golf tournaments. But yeah, shame. I thought that one was coming home, I must say.
The sort you want at a birdie fest with a bit of width off the tee where power's important.
Yep.
He's not going to win a US Open, is he, Garrett Higgo? When he's running putts 8-10 feet past.
No, it seems fairly unlikely.
Putting it off the greens.
Yeah. But yeah. Played very nicely. Doesn't help the profit and loss, but there you go. We're on the right lines, chaps. Robert McIntyre. What did you make of that? This I kept reading stuff on X, because everyone on X is an expert, isn't it? They could be the administrators that bring the whole of world golf back together just with a 2-minute conversation. They were saying that they need to move it from October because the weather's rubbish. Where would you move it to? I suppose that's the issue. And is the weather ever any good in Scotland?
Totally is. There's loads of years that you get 1 or 2 nice days. Struggling to remember.
What, in 365?
No, in a row. I'm struggling to remember one of the Alfred Dunhills where you got the stretch of 4 really good days, but it's going to be hard this time of year. It's part of the challenges of links golf as well. You play in some gnarly conditions. Yeah. This one was particularly bad because it was the crap end of a hurricane, which we had
Storm Amy
across Ireland. Yeah, so I
think
it's great having a bit of conditions. It's just part and parcel of what you have this time of year. And
it's like a passage, isn't it, to be a DP World Tour player? You have to play tournaments like this. It's almost a rite of passage.
Sorry, Paul.
Don't worry.
Just say we see unbelievable conditions on the PGA Tour because they follow the sun, but this is just part of European golf.
Yeah, as you said, Barry, it was Storm Amy. It was coming out the back end of that Hurricane Umberto that fizzled away and then caught up in the jet stream. So you can't do a great deal about it. If that's going to happen, that's going to happen. It does. I mean, the Dunhill Links is one of those tournaments where you can get caught out by the draw anyway, because of the nature of Carnoustie being tougher than the other 2 courses, and if that happens to coincide with a tough day, then that can scupper any player's chances over the course of that tournament. But yeah, I don't know. I looked at it and I was quite excited at one point because I had Guido up there, I had Koepka up there on Friday, and then as the storm came in on Friday, it got progressively worse and worse. And both of those guys were caught out in the very worst of the conditions just before the play was suspended. And both of them made bogeys, or a couple of bogeys, towards the end of their rounds that then, when it was cut down to 54 holes, just meant that you didn't stand a chance, really. Bob was already in the hutch at that point and sitting pretty. And, you know, those, even though the tee times in the Dunhill links are really quite tight because they're going off early and across 3 courses, even those, you know, that hour or 2 hours that you can get in terms of tee time differential was pretty pivotal on the Friday. And, you know, it kind of manifests into that. And in the end, I mean, the way it worked out, and Bob was sitting there for a long time, having posted his winning total before it was confirmed as the winner. I can see why people were moaning about it, and see why people have an opinion on it. It's just one of those things.
The thing I'll say is, you can end up with, okay, probably not as extreme weather as that, but you can end up with pretty nasty weather on a links course in Ireland or Scotland any time of year. I was lucky enough to play St Andrews last year, the week of the Open, and they had one of the heaviest monsoon showers they've ever had right before we teed off, and then we had wind and rain for the front 9, and this was July. So it can happen. I've seen things that look like tornadoes come through in Cairn and have like 80, 90 kilometer an hour winds for half of a round. So, and again, that's June. So it is what it is. It's wild, but I guess frustrating if it was in the betting sense of the world, because you want that 72 holes to get your players' chances fully develop. Yep. So it became a bit more of a sprint. And when you're up against a Scotsman who has literally grown up with these kind of conditions in his blood and just can handle them, and he goes and shoots 366, is seriously impressive.
Yep. Oh no, and you know, I don't think you can take anything away from Bob. And you know, I and plenty of us included will have been put off by the fact that he was flying straight back over from New York, you know, hangover and all. We'd all seen the celebrations on social media, quite rightly, and it certainly put me off backing any of the Ryder Cuppers, and by the looks of it, put most of the punters off as well. But he shrugged that off. Maybe the extra day that they had of not playing on the Saturday would have helped him to focus and get ready to prepare to win on the Sunday. But the DP World Tour got this aversion to going into Mondays as well, which doesn't exist. You know, in the States, if it goes to Monday, it goes to Monday. In Europe, they don't want to go that route. So as soon as the weather turned, it came in on Saturday or Friday evening, you kind of knew it was going to head towards a 54 hole, which, unless your player's right up there, is just a bit frustrating, really. Anyway, we move on from it.
Race to Dubai. The Rory McIlroy show as ever in terms of the rankings. Tyrrell Hatton at 2. In terms of PGA Tour, time of year that we run through it every week. Penge is 1. Christopher Rattan. That guy just keeps... He churns out top 5 finishes, doesn't he, that guy? Mm-hmm. So Penge and Rattan are going to be playing PGA Tour golf next year, as is Adrian Sadier. Alex Noren's taking up a spot right now. I think there's various ways that he can get rid of that spot, i.e. if he finishes in the top 100 on the FedEx Cup full. He's also going to have, I think he's in the top 20 in the world. So there's lots of ways that he's playing in the States next year. Parry at 5. Hao Tong Lee at 6. Hao Tong Lee's falling slowly but surely. Jordan Smith at 7. I could see Jordan Smith winning the Sanderson Farms next year, you know. Can't putt.
Yeah, no, I get that.
All of a sudden, gaining 38 strokes on the greens. Like Stephen Fisk. Laurie Cantor, he's falling as well. And the last 2 with those coveted spots right now, Martin Couvra and Elvis Smiley. Just outside. Daniel Brown, Joachim Lagergren, he was another one. I had all of them last week. They were all hovering in the sort of 10 to 20s. And he was another one. Keita Nakajima, Rasmus Niergaard Pettersson, Daniel Hillier, Sean Norris. So that's going to hot up now.
Yeah, there's a few of those. There's some guys that are continuing to play some good golf, but there's some guys towards the end of that list that you read who have been off the boil for a while. So they'll certainly be looking over their shoulder over the next few weeks. And there's not many weeks to go. So yeah, it is going to get quite fruity, isn't it, over the next month or so?
Which is more stressful? Fighting to get one of those spots, especially if you're on that little bubble section, or it's kind of cruel, or just fighting to get your card on the DP World Tour.
Got to be that, isn't it?
But is it like the psychology of putting for a birdie versus putting for a par? So the guys who are trying to get the tour cards, they're guaranteed to be fine for the DP World Tour next year. So they're trying to gain one on the field. Whereas the guys who are trying to just hang on to their card at the bottom, they're trying to save par. I don't know, psychologically, it's always a little bit easier to be rolling the putt for a par than for a birdie, because you get a bit defensive with the birdie putt.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great analogy. I think it's like a player going out with a 2-shot lead into a Sunday, like a Garrett Higgo, I suppose. Who, how do you play that? Do you go out there aggressively? Do you go out there defensively? Do players feel that they can come at you? And those players who are just outside that bubble, as you say, they've got nothing to lose. They're secure for next season. They're secure to make it through to the Earth course. So they're pretty much free rolling. Why not have a go at one of these tournaments and see what's under the bonnet? Still
got to be a weird internal monologue and pressure going on to try get that PGA Tour card. I don't know. It's super fascinating that they can and do perform with all of that going on inside.
Yep. Yeah, I guess some of it will be down to whether that how much of a personal objective is it, or has it been historically for that particular player to go and play on the PGA Tour. In 2 or 3 seasons ago, before this top 10 cards situation arose, players would probably have only dreamt of having that opportunity. They never thought it would be likely they'd actually do that. And now, one good season on the tour, and away you go.
I'll tell you, I noticed this week. Corn Ferry Tour Championship in Missouri. I'm looking at the betting market right now. Taylor Montgomery, Johnny Kiefer, Adrien Demond de Chassard. Didn't he win by about 14 strokes last week?
Yeah. It was a KFT record, was it, by a couple of shots?
Wow. Zhang Du, Chandler Blanchette, Pearson Coody, Zach Bouchot. This is great. I'm loving this. Davis Chatfield, Neil Shipley. So that's coming to the boil now in terms of those guys that come across. I know for a fact that there's less Corn Ferry graduates this year. They're squeezing the amount of players. They're squeezing the churn, aren't they, with the 100 cards, less Corn Ferry Tour graduates. Johnny Kiefer's the one that really took my attention. Johnny Kiefer right now is 51st in the world. 51st in the world and a Corn Ferry Tour player. I've never seen that in my life. I mean, it does beg the question, doesn't it, about world rankings? But this guy he's had 2 wins on the Corn Ferry, so he hasn't got the magic third that would get him an instant promotion to the PGA Tour. But it's just T7, T4, T15, T7, first, 12th, second. The whole season has just been unbelievable in just churning out results from this Johnny Kiefer chap.
Yeah.
So clearly he will be playing PGA Tour golf next season. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Mr. Kiefer playing at the Black Desert event next week and trying to gain that world top 50 spot before Christmas and that Masters invite. But, a Corn Ferry graduate that's 51st in the world rankings.
Yeah, well, of course, you've got 50-odd players that don't qualify, or, there's only a smattering of them that are in that top 50. by virtue of their major performances. And if you add the ones of those 50 odd that would be inside the world top 50, then these kind of players wouldn't be at that level. They'd be down in the 80s and 90s, I expect. So to your point, it's not right, but it's an entirely different subject of conversation.
Let's talk Baycurrent Classic. So people are saying, what the hell's the Baycurrent Classic? Well, basically, since 2019, I remember it well, Tiger Woods winning at 33-1. That was the year he won the Masters as well, the last Masters victory. They take the PGA Tour in the fall, in the autumn, to Japan. And I remember the first few years, it was literally like a mini major. They were taking the cream of the crop out there. That was the Zozo Championship that they played at Accordia Narashino. That sponsorship deal ended, so they've now got Baycurrent as their sponsor. And Baycurrent have taken the tournament, or the PGA Tour have. I expect it's the PGA Tour. I would assume that they've got a nice residence fee out of Yokohama Country Club. So we've got a new course and a new sponsor. But effectively, it's the same tournament on the basis that, is it 78 players? Yeah, short field of 78. They take the best PGA Tour ranked players over there that put their hand up to want to go. So it's a half-decent field this year. No cut. So, I've been doing some digging, chaps. Yokohama Country Club. You're going to love this, Barry. It was designed by Takeo Ayama in 1960. And it had a core and Crenshaw renovation in 2015. Core and Crenshaw, think Plantation Course at Kapalua. And I believe they did the renovation at Pinehurst number 2 before the 2014 US Open. If you want a little bit of some courses there that we've seen on the PGA Tour. They also did Trinity Forest, which was the course that they played the AT&T Byron Nelson at in 18 and 19 that was built on a dump just outside of Dallas. Just as a note, Core and Crenshaw courses are renowned for very wide, easy-to-hit fairways. And that's something I have actually built into my selections this week. Course type, Parkland. I'm calling it classical. It's very, very densely. I tell you what, when I look at a lot of the images, it reminds me very much of Wentworth. Mid-score, I'm classifying it as in terms of the level of scoring that's going to be required to win. Wouldn't be surprised if it's high teens. And also, I'm categorising it, and you won't be surprised, it's in Japan. It's a short golf course. It's a par 71, and it measures 7,317 yards. That doesn't tell the whole story, though, because in typical quirky Japanese way, it isn't your standard par 71 with 3 par 5s. It's actually got 2 par 5s and only 3 par 3s. So if you like your par 4s this week, you're going to see lots of them. In terms of the agronomy, Karai Zoysia, the fairways. The rough is Noshiba Zoysia. And the greens, always love this one, 007 bent grass. They're aiming to get them to 11.5 on the stimp. So it's no double greens this week, chaps. They Core and Crenshaw did away with those on the renovation, unfortunately. Mm. So none of your double greens that we used to see at Narashino.
No, they must have to keep the bent grass alive during the warmer periods. Then.
Yes, they have got full irrigation and ventilation under all the greens for the bent grass in the summer. Mm. So I think it's a very well looked after property here. They're utilising a composite course, combining holes from both their west and east courses. This is the thing that I took on board. Specifically, the layout includes 16 holes from the west course and 2 holes from the east. This configuration aims to offer a balanced challenge for players, integrating the west course's undulating fairways and dense pine trees with the east course's tighter tree-line fairways and deep bunkering. I have read on various different sources that the fairways that the west course has are particularly generous off the tee. And the other thing, I know this caught your attention, Paul, when you read the preview yesterday, or at least the pre-copy. September saw 362 millimetres, or empirically 14.3 inches of rain in Yokohama. And I'm looking at the weather forecast right now, and there is over a 50% chance of rain sort of late Wednesday into the early hours of Thursday. And that threat of rain continues throughout the day. No electrical activity though. So I have seen years in Japan where they do play the odd round with the umbrellas out.
Yeah.
This golf course, I reckon, is going to be sopping wet. Very, very soft.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Now, there was going to be lots of wind as well, but that wind seems to have passed. Now, the only thing I will say is that there's threats here of 30 to 35 mile an hour winds throughout the day on Thursday. Now, of course, short field, they're going off 1 and 10, so they're probably going to be playing in a 3-hour sort of cluster, top of the field to the bottom. So that makes things manageable. Hopefully, and we have seen this in Japan in the past, they do keep playing over there. But Thursday's going to be a challenge, I reckon. Any day when you've got northerly, gusting 35, 40 mile an hour winds and rain, doesn't feel like a birdie festival. But then the wind seems to have calmed down in the forecast. We're not seeing anything more than around about 10 to 15 miles an hour throughout the rest of the week, and no rain. So you're going to get some really nice scoring conditions Friday, Saturday, Sunday on a soft golf course. Now, Paul, did your due diligence on this? I know you've gone to all manner of in research and investigative work to full out winning scores around here, and also players that are in this week's field that have played the golf course. It has seen action on the Japan Tour 3 times, I believe. They played the 2016 Japan Open here.
2018, yeah.
2018, sorry. I always think 16 when it's 18 on that one. I don't know why. And then they've played 2 tournaments here, a Yokohama local tournament in 2023 and 2024.
Yeah, they have. And there's a smattering of players in the field who have played one or more of those tournaments. I guess the most pertinent is Keita Nakajima, who won the 2023 Yokohama Minato Championship, which is one of those you just mentioned. Yes, and Tiger Samikawa was the runner-up that year as well. And then
I love it when you talk dirty.
Takumi Kanaya was the best finisher that I've seen so far from 2024. 7th he finished that year, having finished 24th back in the 2018 Japan Open. So yeah, there's a smattering. If you're that way inclined, you can dig through the leaderboards from those 3 events. Just to reiterate what Steve said, then it was the 2018 Japan Open and the 23-24 Yokohama Minato Championship events.
Minato Championship.
Yeah, I've probably mispronounced it.
Well, I'm sure I have, but that's the fun of it. 14 under, 13 under, and then this last year, 22 under were the winning scores.
Yeah,
that shows quite a big. That would suggest that those opening two were in tougher conditions, 13 and 14, and then 22 under last time.
Yeah, if there is a bit of wind about, then it could easily turn into a trickier test. It'd be interesting to see how it plays. It will be.
Yeah. If I was guessing, I reckon high teens. They're going to have a day when like 4 or 5 unders leading on Thursday, and then it's lights out. Wouldn't be surprised 19, 20 under, something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
If you're looking for golf courses that focus or have Zuija in their makeup, TPC Southwind, FedEx St Jude Championship. We've got Eastlake, of course, where they play the Tour Championship. You've also got the CJ Cup, which now is CJ Cup Byron Nelson, which they play at TPC Craig Ranch. And, of course, Narashino, where they used to play the Zozo, also featured this non-American mix of bent grass greens with Zoysia grass fairways. Over in the States, it always tends to be Bermuda grass greens with the Zoysia. There we go. Give a bit of guesswork. What do I think? I think there are a few areas to look at. I do like players fighting at this time of year for top 50 in the world. Always like that. Players that want to get that 2026 Masters invite on their doormat before Christmas. Tends to work at this time of year as well. So I don't think finding players that are in that sort of around the sort of high 40s through to sort of 60s, late mid 60s, players that have got a real shout to make that top 50. From a motivational perspective, I find that works quite nicely. Interestingly enough, Keegan Bradley won this in 2022. He was 44th in the world. However, Morikawa 20th, Matsuyama was 19th in the world. Cantlay, when they played it in the States, was 14th. Tiger Woods 10th. You do tend to get a player of real quality winning this. Justin Thomas, you might remember, was pretty much leading this all the way through in a head-to-head with Nico Echeverria, and JT didn't get the job done last year. It was Nico that won this. I think he was something crazy like 150 to 1. No, yeah, 250 to 1. 250 to 1. But winning prices here have been 250 with him, but 11 to 1 Morikawa, 40 to 1 Bradley, 16 to 1 Matsuyama. Cantlay was 28s, Tiger Woods was 33s. Now, my gut feel on this, when I was working it through over the weekend and even late last week, when we kind of knew who was playing, was, is Xander going to win his first tournament this week since his Open Championship win last year? He played some incredible golf at the Ryder Cup. And you have got this scenario this week where you've got Xander, Colin and Hideki clearly on a pedestal. Those three are away and gone in terms of prices. I was slightly surprised that Hideki was quite close in terms of his pricing, up to 18 to 1. Well, I'm talking first show prices here with the likes of Chris Gotterup, 22s, and Alex Noren, as you would expect. He would win 3 tournaments on the trot if he takes this out. He's at 22 to 1 as well. 18 to 1 was the price that Hideki won at when he took this out in 2021. And I have backed Hideki Matsuyama. I'm going back into old ways. I managed to get 16 to 1, 8 places each way with Betfred on Hideki Matsuyama. I think he's going to go well this week. Saw a bit of him at Wentworth, and I was amazed that on his first ever visit to the West Course, he was 36-hole leader. Got a bit blustery, got a bit gnarly on the Saturday. He, like others like Justin Rose seem to go backwards. And then again, he shot a 67, I believe, on Sunday, which again was pretty cold, wet and gnarly. But that was, again, one of the top 10 best scores of the field. So Matsuyama seems to be in a good spot. You can, when you look at his data, if he's hitting the ball close with his approaches, if he's scrambling like he can, and the putter's half warm, he does tend to win golf tournaments. And Barry will like the fact that Matsuyama has got a history of winning lots of tournaments in September, October and November when you look at his Palmares. So I'm on Hideki Matsuyama. I got 16 to 1 with Bet365, 8. Not with Bet365, it was with Betfred, 8 places each way. Now I've gone for 4 chaps. My prices are 28 to 1, 33 to 1 and 55 to 1. Where are you coming in at, Paul?
I've got 3, 40 to 1, ranging through to 66s for me.
Mm-hmm. Barry?
I'm starting to get a little bit of a Max Homa vibe. It's starting to come back. And I just wonder if like the little... I know you've mentioned like he needs just that extra, like that one round at the moment, but he's putting together some good stuff. I wonder will just the change of scenery help kind of unlock another layer up? Likes classical courses.
Yeah.
There's a bit of width here that gives maybe a little bit of freedom just in case he's still not fully confident, which obviously is the case because he hasn't won in the last few outings, so he's still getting there. But just wondering if there are a few factors. I could be completely talking myself into this, but for a guy who is that talented and has so many career highs in a limited field, 33 to 1 is kind of appealing.
You'd like to think, wouldn't you, that a trip over there to... We've seen this in the past with Ricky Fowler. And Ricky's gone through these periods of, poor play over extended time of 12, 18 months. And he's gone out to the Zozo and all of a sudden Ricky Fowler's playing proper golf again and contending.
Yeah.
Hasn't won, but I believe twice he's been right in the mix. I think Keegan Brad was in a head-to-head with him the year that Keegan won. And Keegan was in the same kind of stupor to a certain extent. I know he'd had a better year that year, but he was fighting for... I'm on Homer. So there's been signs, haven't there? 5th at the John Deere Classic and then his last 2, which were both full series events. So he's up to speed. He's playing golf. 19th at the Procore. And last week, 18th at the Sanderson Farms. That 64 on Saturday was sublime. Was in 8th place going into the final round. And he just hasn't quite cracked Sundays yet when he's in contention. But it'll come. And if you said to me over a pint, how many times do I say that a year? If you said to me over a pint, do you think that the country club of Jackson or a tight, tree-lined, old-style Japanese course suits Max Homa the best? I'd go for the latter every day of the week.
Yeah.
When you look at his wins, all 6 on what I classify as classical layouts. So, yeah, I'm on Max Homa. I was slightly disappointed with the price. I think the layers are onto us. But I managed to grab 1.5 points each way, 33 to 1 with Betfred. 8 places each way, Max Homa. He is playing some very nice stuff. And I just get the feeling that change of vibe to Japan and the appreciative Japanese fans might just work in his favour. I'm hoping.
That was kind of what I was thinking. It almost might... The switch to Japan might help him get there faster than he would have if it was just a couple more PGA Tour events.
They clap triple bogeys, don't they? They clap quads out there.
God, you guys would be superstars in Japan.
I hate that when I go to
Too
Wentworth
true.
and you get people clapping bogeys and you're like, you just don't understand what you're doing. But out in Japan,
They're
it's a different
appreciating
level.
the effort, not the skill.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know. Maybe that's just making that up. Yeah, listen. It's if he does it, it'll be a lovely bet. If he doesn't, we just supported our boy, and you got a little bit of a sweat. So
He went out to Japan in 2019, played the Dunlop Phoenix. We always see a smattering of decent PGA Tour players at the Dunlop Phoenix, don't we? Matsuyama was second there last year. I believe Max McGreevy won it, which is bizarre. Max Homer went out there in 2019, finished fifth at that. That was a shortened event, over 54 holes. Last year at Narashino, 73 in round one, and then he shot 66, 67, 66, and climbed from basically last place to 27th. So I do think, if you just look at his, I think it was his 36 and his 54 hole scores there last year. I know it's a different course, but same kind of format, if you like. I think he was in the top 5 or 7 for both 36 and 54 hole scoring. So, for a guy that's finding something right now and just needs that little bit more confidence to see it out on a Sunday, I think this is a great course at a great time for him. So, yes, Homer for me as well. I've gone purely on the basis of, well, no, not purely. I also think, and this is he's an interesting player, I always find. I've got 28 to 1, Bet365, 8 places each way on Min Woo Lee. Now, I've gone through his record of where he's won in his professional career, and he's won on a par 71, a par 71, a par 70 at Houston, and a par 71 in Macau. There's one par 72 in there, the Vic Open. He tends to win at high teens, so 20 under, 18 under, 19 under, 20 under. Of course, Macau, he was 30 under par. But Min Woo, he was literally, wasn't it? There was like a torrent of money on him last week. Teal Bjornsson, Homer, Higgo, Min Woo Lee, they were the volume backs last year. And what does Min Woo do? He misses the cut. But if you just look at Min Woo's record, when he tends to win, there are quite a few. I mean, I've put here, he's won off form of miscut 17th, 64th, 15th and 20th. So that miscut, forget about that. But prior to that, he was in the top 5 in Paris. And I believe he was in the top 13 at Wentworth. So he's clearly playing some good stuff. He was 11th at Wentworth. He was 5th at the Open de France that they played on that course outside of Paris. So he's playing some good stuff. He's 45th in the world. I think this course that's wide off the tee could well let him open his shoulders a little bit on some of these holes. And interesting, when he played that that course in Paris was pretty tight, wasn't it?
Yeah, a bit quirky, yeah.
He was first for total driving, second for total accuracy, which is clearly GIR and fairways hit combined. He was first for ball striking. And when you're seeing someone of Min Woo's ability with a putter hitting numbers like that, you have to take note. So I'm covering off Min Woo Lee, 28 to 1. He was 6th at Narashino 2 years ago. So he's already proven that he can play well in Japan. And of course, someone of his Australian heritage, a lot of history around that South Asia kind of area, the Asian golf course circuit. So 1.5 points each way, 28 to 1, Bet365, 8 places each way on Min Woo Lee. Right, Paul, take us through your first selection, please.
Yeah, the shortest one I've backed, the final one, the middle one is actually the same as your final one, so I'll let you do that.
Okay.
And I've got a slightly longer one, but yeah, the shortest of my 3 is Christian Bezuidenhout at 45 to 1. I backed him first round leader last week. I've seen just a little bit in him, and he didn't. He just finished just outside the places for first round lead, but in the end came through and finished 6th overall at the Sanderson Farms. Bit of a spark with a putter, finished 9th for strokes gained putting on the week. Kind of piqued my interest a bit. He has won 3 times on the DP World Tour, One of those was at Valderrama back in 2019. I don't think this is going to play like a Valderrama in terms of it being that tight, but that was a relatively easy year. He won at 10 under, which in Valderrama terms is relatively easy.
Drag strip.
Yeah, exactly. His other two wins, 14 under at Leopard Creek, and he won the South African Open at 18 under. So they feel like they're right in the kind of in the ballpark for a winning score this week, particularly if there's a little bit of wind on the first day, as would suggest in the forecast. He also finished third at last year's ISPS Handa Championship on the DP World Tour. That was played in Japan. That was played at the Gotemba course at Taiheiyo Club. And that's another one of these typical parkland tree-lined Japanese courses. And again, with just 2 par 5s on the course. So a little bit of form there, and that kind of completed the circle for me, I think. So yeah, Christian Bezuidenhout.
69th in the world, so he's in that prime spot.
Yeah, some of these, you sometimes get some odd results in these events where players who have less experience of regular courses on the PGA Tour circuit can go to somewhere like here, and the playing field is levelled to a large degree. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him go well. We'll see.
Yeah, I get that. I always think he's better on bent grass, like most South Africans are.
Yeah,
he's a better bent grass player than Bermuda. Although I'm looking at the stats that I put onto the predictor, and it's pretty much level. But yes, I do like the South African on bent grass.
Yeah, he can certainly putt the surface.
Have you got any more, Barry, or shall I cover off my 66 to 1?
No, I've taken my own advice. I'm really throttling back on the Autumn Series betting for PGA Tour, because last week I chose Isaiah Salinda and some other donkey-like performance. Not too well, Steve. No. So any picks I make should be taken with a massive grain of salt, and even bigger, possibly a salt field at this time of year. So. Just the one, and I'm gonna do a transcontinental double because I only have one for Spain as well.
I've only got one for Spain. I'm looking at the live tournament stats on the datagolf.com website for last week's Sanderson Farms, and they have a bombometer on there, which I love. And the bombometer goes from the kind of one pole, which is straight baller's paradise, through favours accuracy, neutral, favours bombers, and bombers paradise. And last week at the Country Club of Jackson, the arrow is pointing squarely at bombers paradise. You know, it's kind of maxing out. That was last week's test on the PGA Tour. And the thing that grabbed me about that is that Tom Kim is not a bomber. Yeah? So for Tom Kim last week to be pretty much in contention throughout showed me that, one, he's motivated, and on a golf course that didn't suit him in any way, shape or form, was playing some nice golf. Now, I reckon the course this week is going to suit Tom Kim far more. So short, favours accuracy on approach, which is Tom Kim's game, has bent grass greens. Now, he's a 3-time winner in the States. 2 of those have come at TPC Summerlin in Las Vegas, which is a short par 71 featuring bent grass greens. I know that that's a desert golf course, by the way, and doesn't feature trees. But I could also point Tom Kim contending on the PGA Tour in Canada on a tree-lined golf course. And also, of course, last year when he got into that famous or infamous playoff with Scotty Scheffler, where there was some orange substances being thrown on the green. So smaller, shorter, tree-lined golf courses, not a problem for Tom Kim. And I don't know if you noticed this, Paul. He's got a hell of a lot to play for.
Yep.
He's down in 83rd in the world rankings. He's been as high as 11th. Don't forget, he failed to finish in the FedEx Cup top 50. So that means he hasn't got elevated signature event status for 2026. So if he wants a Masters invite pre-Christmas, he needs to start he needs a win, effectively. You're going to get a lot of world ranking points this week. Also, I'm sure that a short-term win for him is getting into this Aon top 10, which then gives him access to... I think I've got this wrong, Paul. I've put the Century in my copy, but what I actually meant was the AT&T Pebble Beach and the Genesis Invitational. I will change that post-pod. So he can't get into the Century, but he can get into the 2 events in California with the big money, world ranking points, FedEx Cup points, if he finishes in the Aon top 10.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot to play for. And I just thought that performance, he shot a beautiful 66 on Friday. He was in 5th spot ending to the weekend. Country Club of Jackson is not Tom Kim's golf course. It doesn't suit him at all. This, in comparison, suits him perfectly. So, yeah, Tom Kim, I took a point each way, 55 to 1, full 8 places with Bet365 on Tom Kim. Noticeable as well with him, this is another thing Barry will like, biorhythms. He's won 3 times in October. He's won once in November. And he also made last October a playoff in the Genesis Championship on the DP World Tour, which they played in South Korea, when he lost to Ben Arn in a playoff. So he loves this time of year. Anything to add?
Yeah. No, I think you covered most of it off there. Last week's performance was the eye-opener because, as you say, that isn't a Tom Kim course. He was pretty new. He was just slightly negative from a strokes gain off the tee perspective, as you'd expect.
Purely on distance. He was hitting tons of fairways.
Yeah. That shows you that the course just doesn't suit him. But every other metric took a significant leap forward last week. So that for me was pretty eye-opening, and as you've highlighted, and it's he's well worth backing, I think, this week at that kind of mid-price level. So yeah, I agree wholeheartedly on Tom Kim. That biorhythms element as well. That it does stick out that he tends to come to the fore at this time of the year. Something just galvanises him by the looks of it, and focuses his mind.
November 2022, he played the Dunlop Phoenix again, like Max Homer did in 19. He finished 4th. That was his last trip to Japan. So yeah, Kim's in. So Tom Kim 55 to 1, Max Homer 33 to 1, Minwoo Lee 28 to 1, and Hideki Matsuyama, I've got him at 16 to 1 with Betfred. Right. We are playing the Open d'Espagne, Paul.
We are, yes. Sorry, before we go there, I did have one other at the...
Oh, you did? I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off.
That's right.
Of course, you had a long shot. Apologies.
No, well, not particularly long, but just a little bit longer. That was Takumi Kanaya that I've backed at 66s, who we mentioned in the preamble, 24th at that Japan Open, 17th last year out on this course. On the Japan Tour, won the ANA Championship on the Japan Tour just over a fortnight ago, so in some decent form. 21st last week at the Sanderson Farms, and I think he'll feel much more comfortable than most when he returns home this week. He's won 8 times on the Japan Tour, Kanaya, so well capable of winning in his homeland.
He's won some big tournaments, hasn't he? He's won Dunlop Phoenix in the past.
Yeah, he's very capable. He was 11th also in that ISBS Handa Championship that I mentioned on the DP World Tour. So yes, plenty to like about Kanaya. He has been pretty popular in the market, as you'd expect. There was some earlier prices, 80s and beyond, but 66 is out there right now, and I think that's worth taking as an each way chance.
As you know, he came close on mine, very close.
Indeed.
So it's probably a good thing that I'm not on him and you are. So he'd have clearly finished second if I was on him.
Yeah, when our picks coincide, they don't tend to be great. So just leave them alone.
That's good for Tom Kim then.
Yeah, poor old Tom.
We are travelling to, I love this, the Club de Campovilla de Madrid for the Open de España. Over to you, Paul.
Yeah, we've got a decent field congregating over here in Madrid as well. John Rahm's won this 3 times and he's back playing again this year. And as you'd expect, he's the favourite, around about 3-1. You can get just a fraction more if you shop around, but you won't get a great deal more than 3-1 this week. Joaquin Niemann 10-1, David Puig 20-1, and then a whole host of players at 22s: Patrick Reed, Marco Penge, Rasmus Nergård Pettersson. Shane Lowry's playing this week 22-1 also. So some good players. It's again one of these kind of top heavy markets. So as you dig a bit deeper into the market, there's some really juicy prices if you are that way inclined. Boyle Sports gone 10 places each way. 50 odds are standard on this market this week. Betfred, Bet365, both of them with their standard 8 place each way options and beyond as well. So do shop about. There's some cracking combinations out there. As you say, Steve, the Club de Campo Villa de Madrid is the venue. 7,112 yard par 71, tree-lined old-school tests. So they're not dissimilar tests, actually, the two courses this week. It's been used for some Spanish events over the years, but most recently and of most use if you're looking at the event stats or the combi stats sheets this week, it hosted this event, the Spanish Open, from 2019 onwards. So no event in 2020 and then from 21 through 24. So we've got 5 consecutive years of data. So there is a fair bit of history for us to work from this week, thankfully. Undulating course, relatively generous fairways, small bent power greens. It's usually pretty scoreable. It was tougher last year. There was a lot of wind. The wind on Thursday didn't really dissipate massively on Friday, and that kept a lid on the scoring levels. But I'm seeing nothing of the sort this week. The forecast to me looks like it's light winds, sunshine, temperatures up to the kind of mid-70s Fahrenheit. So when I say scoreable, John Rahm won this at 22 under back in 2019. His second win here was at 25 under 3 years later. Rafa Cabrera-Bello won at 19 under. Matthew Pavon in 2023 won at 23 under. It was only last year with that wind that I alluded to where the winning score was a bit tougher. 14 under, Angel Hidalgo won at. You remember he beat John Rahm last year in a playoff. Hidalgo was 250-1. John Rahm was a similar kind of price to this, 3-1-ish favourite, and Hidalgo stepped up to the plate and won the tournament. So he is beatable, John Rahm. Maybe. Matthew Pavon was 90-1. Rafa Cabrera-Bello was 55-1. So we've got a real mix of either super short John Rahm wins or some juicier mid-price or even silly long price Angel Hidalgo type wins here. When it is scoreable here, and again, I think I'd be surprised if we don't get beyond 20 under this week. It'll be kind of 21, 22, maybe something like that. And when it is scoreable here, it tends to come down to tee to green performance from a strokes gain perspective, coupled with a good week, both on and around the greens. You need to be saving par here. You can't be making too many bogeys, otherwise you simply aren't going to get to the winning score. Rahm was first for strokes gained tee to green both times that he won here. Rafa was 6th. Even Hidalgo last year, he was 4th for strokes gained tee to green, even though the conditions were a little bit tougher. And of course, if you're going to get to 20 under or beyond, then you're going to need to putt pretty well as well. So taking those chances when you do find the green is a pretty much pretty important for this week. Going back to 2010, if we're looking at form, every winner of this had a top 20 finish in one of their previous 7 starts. So a smattering of form's good. Pavon had finished 6th at the Dunhill Links in the 54-hole event back in 2023. So you could take some relevance to that into this week potentially. Hidalgo was tougher to find last year. He closed with a 75 at Wentworth for a tie for 57th on his previous start. Now, I guess if he'd have shot 65 rather than 75, he'd have been kind of top 10-ish, and it would have been far more backable, far shorter price, I suspect. But yeah, I think of the recent winners here, Hidalgo was certainly the toughest to find in the market. Rafa Cabrera and Matthew Pavon had both finished runner-up here before winning on this course, so that could be a pointer as well if you're looking at the history sheets. Hidalgo muddies the water again, miscut 34th, miscut from his 3 attempts here. I've got to say, I did go around the houses a bit with this one. It is a bit of a conundrum because Rahm could win this. It was either Saturday night or Sunday night. I woke up in the middle of the night and my brain was telling me, or I dreamt that I'd just put all of my money on Rahm to win, kind of a 12 point or whatever it would have been, win only, bet 3-1 on John Rahm. I haven't gone down that route. I did contemplate it, I must say. I wonder if he's putting quite well enough to get to that kind of number. He didn't putt great at Wentworth last time we saw him. And I know he played well at the Ryder Cup. He wasn't perfect at the at Wentworth before that. And I just feel that you can't let any chances slip by this week. You're gonna have to make the very most of your chances that you've got here. We'll see. I wouldn't, if a punter wanted to put all of the eggs on one basket this week on Rahm, then so be it. But yeah, I couldn't quite get there. Neiman, Pooge, Penge, all of them got chances this week. Shane too. I guess last week Bob McIntyre winning, that will be a bit of a shot in the arm to Lowry. Clearly he was in and around all of the celebrations, or at the centre of the celebrations for the Ryder Cup. I just wonder if the scoring is going to be a little bit too low for Shane this week, but again, we shall see. The one I have backed towards the top of the market, Christopher Rattan. Steve, you mentioned him quite early on. He has been playing some cracking stuff, 25-1. And as we mentioned right at the top, currently in possession of that second of 10 PGA Tour cards. I can't see any world where he doesn't end up playing on the PGA Tour next year. But there's certainly no signs of him slowing down and just coasting through the rest of the season. 24th at Wentworth. He was 6th for strokes gained putting that week. 5th in Paris. He was 1st for strokes gained tee to green. So that's 2 big ticks statistically in my mind. 5th last week in Scotland. And if we go back through his season, he got his breakthrough win at the Soudal Open earlier this year, and that's another short course with some tree-lined holes there. He won the Challenge Tour Grand Final at 23 under last time he played in Spain last year, so got some Spanish form. He has seen the course before. That was in his in his rookie season back in 2019. 6 years down the line, a much better player now. I can see Rattan contending this week and potentially beating the guys above him in the market. We'll see. 25-1. The other 3, I'll rattle through them because I know you guys have only got one each, and then we'll bring you in. Oliver Lindell I've backed at 55s with the extra places. The 66s out there if you prefer. And with the threat of Rahm, most of the, he could well mop up this week. So I wanted to get Lindell and some other each-way chances on the team. He's finished in the top 8 in 3 of his last 6 starts, so he did fit the bill in that respect. 91st last week at the Dunhill Links. I'm going to ignore that because, the intricacies, the vagaries of that event, particularly with the way the weather affected it, I'm not going to put too much credence, either positively or negatively, on the performance last week. Prior to that, 7th, 8th, 17th, 7th, 13th from his previous 5 events. That 13th was at Wentworth. That was on debut at Wentworth in a very strong field, and I think there's every reason to think that he could go well here on debut too. 3 top 5 finishes in Spain on the Nordic circuit back early in his career. 5th at the 2020 Challenge de Espana. And again, he was 4th in last year's Challenge Tour Grand Final in Spain. So I don't think he's quite found the winning formula yet, Oliver Lindell, but I think he could place here at a decent each-way backable price. One player who has worked out the winning formula, though, is Grant Forrest. I've backed him at 66s. Again, you can get a little bit longer if you're going to go for the bog standard each-way terms. He won for us at the Nexo Championship in August. 4 missed cuts followed that, but bounced back to a bit of form last week. 11th at the Dunhill Links. Returns to Club de Campo, where he's finished 3rd twice in his career, last year and back in 2021. He won the 2021 Hero Open at 24 under par as well, so we know he can go low enough to win this. Grant Forrest seemed to make a lot of sense to me. And the final one is Ewan Ferguson, who I've backed at 90 to 1. Again, with the 8 places, again, you can get up to 100, 110 to 1 if you're going to go for the bog standard each way terms. 5th at Wentworth, that caught my eye. Miscut in Paris, 61st last week in the Dunhill Links, ignore that. 40th in the race to Dubai, so he needs just one final result of any description and he'll be off to the Earth course next month. So plenty to play for. 2nd at the Soudal Open earlier in the year behind Christopher Rattan, which I've already mentioned. That's decent form for this, I think, and finished 9th here on debut back in 2023. So a little bit of course form for Ferguson to boot. Nice accurate player Ferguson, could go well this week. But that's my 4: Ferguson, Forrest, Lindell and Rattan. Kept it relatively tight. I don't think you can go hell for leather on this event, given the chance that John Rahm just mops up. We'll see. Barry, what about you? You said you got 1 for this.
Got 1, yeah. Kind of just vibing on the win from Hidalgo last year, get the young Spaniard. So I'm going for Angel Ayora. Who's been playing some really lovely golf recently, and a couple of things that kind of caught my eye were his performances at up in the Omega European Masters and then the Irish Open as well. Just that kind of tree-line course vibe. So he did 8th and the 5th in those 2.
Yep.
Played well last week, was tied 5th as well. So the game is just in overall really great shape. So hoping to convert that into a win. And I've doubled him at Max Homa. And that's me, I think. I might do one little cheeky one on Joachim Lagergren, because he popped when I was looking at the 2 leaderboards for the European Masters and the Irish Open. And again, last week.
Playing some good stuff, and again, he was one of those players Steve mentioned just outside the top 10. Lagergren, Ayora, yeah, he was on the. Again, you have to draw a line somewhere, but yeah, he was certainly on the radar. Spaniard's got a great event in their home open. It's not always the case with home opens. Sometimes the local guys can't seem to get over the line, but the Spanish Open does seem to have a good showing from the Spanish players. So yeah, couldn't put you off, I must say. What about you, Steve?
I'm going for Patrick Reed.
Okay.
22 to 1. In this fight for a top 50 in the world spot. 5th at Valderrama. 4th at Valderrama. He played this last year. He finished 10th. He was 3rd after 36 holes, 4th after 54 holes. Another top 10 in. They play Valderrama again this year. I think they did. 2025.
Yep.
So he clearly likes his visits to Spain. He's had 4 of them. He's got 4 top 10s. He's just playing nice golf, isn't he? And 14th for greens in reg. And 12th for ball striking as recently as Wentworth.
Yeah.
32nd last week. Not worried about that. That's fine. He's in good nick, Patrick Ray. So yes, I think Reed's got the willingness, the motivation to, and the ability to win. So I wouldn't be surprised on him. And I was on him last week. I've also had a similar bet to what Barry's just mentioned on Joachim Lagergren.
Uh-oh, he's dust. Sorry, Joachim.
Poor lad, won't know what's hitting.
70 to 1 with Bet365, 8 places each way.
Oh, no,
Well,
I did the
it's the
exact
right
same one.
price, isn't it, Paul? It's the right price point.
Yeah, he's well, yeah.
These kind of mid, these prices above 50 to 1. You look at the history; it's quite a nice spot to have an each way punt.
Yes, if we can avoid John Rahm winning, then yeah, seeing a player in that bracket of 50 through even 100 or beyond.
Pavon was
winning.
90s, yeah.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
See, there's unexpected chaos could happen this week, Paul, because Ram's gone back to Spain after winning the Ryder Cup. He's going to be polluted with Rioja and Hamon Serrano. The man might not be able to move on the golf course.
Yeah.
Oh dear, I thought he was looking quite svelte at the Ryder Cup. Looks like he'd lost a few pounds. Perhaps he was put it all back on.
There'll be a lot of pats in the back this week and a lot of saying, get that man a bottle of wine. So that's the hope to overcome the beast that is John Rahm, because he could just go out and destroy the tournament. So
It was certainly a bit of celebration for Rahm. So yeah, let's hope his eyes off the ball and lets one of the other players through.
I think Rikuya Hoshino's got on the wrong flight, hasn't he? He's in Spain rather than Japan.
Yeah, there were some oddities. Victor Perez was penciled up to play, so there were a couple of players that I quite fancied for this. Antoine Rosner, who I'd pretty much made my mind up on last week, I was going to back for this. He pulled out, and then Victor Perez was named as one of the alternates for the Baycurrent, but was in this field until deep yesterday. So
he's gone to Japan. I think he's first alternate now.
Yeah, well, if he's gone through, as you say, if he's gone through the alternate list and he's quite likely to play, if there's a withdrawal, then he's cut his cloth that way, which was a shame because again I could have quite easily backed Perez for this, given he played I think he finished 11th or something, didn't he, at the Sanderson Farms? So flashed a bit of form over there. But alas,
I hope these bets go well, gentlemen.
Best of luck, boys.
You too, boys.
Best of luck to listeners. What's on the agenda next week, Paul?
I have got the DP World India Championship. So a new event, but it's returning to Delhi Golf Club, excuse me, which we've seen a number of times before. It's that short, tree-lined course, cracking course for us to get our teeth into. Fantastic field as well. Rory, Tommy, Shane, Victor Hovland, Ben Griffin, Brian Harman, loads of good players coming over to India next week. So a cracking event for us to get our teeth into.
They've had the checkbook out.
They have. They have indeed.
I've got the bank. I know. Pulling over Ben Griffin, of all people. Mr. Aviator. Interesting. I've got the Bank of Utah Championship.
I thought it was a blank week for you next week, and it was
Is it?
the week after, yeah.
Is it?
I could be wrong.
Yeah, blank week. I've got nothing. Fantastic. Thank you,
Feet
PJ Tour. We'll be back next week for, well, basically Paul's tournament in India. See you then.
If you like betting on golf, but everyone that you back misses the cut, get some experts involved with all the stats and the tips and so much more, 'cause it's the golf betting system, the golf